Mural 7, From to City, Among Spoils and Partial Recovery of the Land. Days before the consummation of independence, the Spanish discharged their last bullets, shooting innocent people left and right just for the suspicion of supporting the cause of independence. Even so, with many human casualties, Huatusco remained steadfast, with the people fighting for their own freedom, supporting the insurgent leaders. So much so that Father Campomanes wrote about the War of Independence. The history of Huatusco must occupy a prominent place in the overall history of the Mexican Revolution. All the towns suffered, some at the hands of troops, others at the hands of insurgents. Some were looted, others burned. Some gave money, others food and patriots. Some suffered the war at the beginning, others at the middle and at the end. But Huatusco must immortalize its name. It embraced all of it, it suffered everything, it endured everything, from the year 1812 until the end. In 1820, when the first era concluded, O incomparable Huatusco! Perhaps the homeland will reward your ineffable merits. After 3 centuries of viceroyalty and after an arduous battle, sufficient resources and population remained, even to found Córdoba, and with the territory in ruins, to rebuild itself with honor for the 3rd time. After independence, Santa Anna proclaimed the Republic, and Huatusco was established as a liberal majority, later supporting the Constitution of '57 and the reform laws. Along with the conservative segment, the lower and upper neighborhoods of the city were formed. In 1823, deputies were appointed to the First Congress, among them Don José Miguel Sánchez Oropeza, son of Huatusco, who founded the first college of preparatory and professional studies in the state in Orizaba. The population grew and with it the economic and food demand. Beans, sugarcane, corn, and later tobacco, among others, were the main agricultural activities. The latter came from Orizaba and Córdoba as there were not enough fields in these cities, something that was abundant in Huatusco. However, none of these crops achieved economic growth since the conquest, they were trafficked through tunnels, which connected the main town halls, leading into the hills to escape the government's eye. By 1830, Huatusco was elevated to the category of town, while Orizaba, Córdoba, and Jalapa were promoted to city status. In 1847, the state government was established in Huatusco, serving as the capital on 2 occasions, the first for approximately 1 year and some time later for the 2nd time. The North American invasion was the cause for this first time and the 2nd time for pro-independence reasons. Governor Juan Soto and the deputies were well received. The first printing press was established around that time, publishing the first newspaper in Huatusco, called El Faro Veracruzano. Despite the independence process, most of the land remained in the hands of Creole Spaniards, and the natives were forced to pay rent to work and live on what had previously been theirs by nature and was now owned by a single family, headed by Don Juan Díaz de Ceballos, a resident of Tehuacan. He decided to sell these lands to 3 equally wealthy families, thus threatening to once again be subject to large rents and restrictions. This reached the ears of a Huatusqueño peasant named Agustín Chicueler, who with tenacity and intelligence saw the possibility that together they could buy the land, and after several years and settlements of differences between indigenous people and Creoles after 10 years of long trips to Jalapa, Veracruz in Mexico, creating the Huatusqueña Agricultural Association, they managed to gather in 1853 the necessary documents and the money requested by Ceballos, which is said to have been approximately 22,000 pesos between payments and procedures, and in 1865 the distribution among the settlers began. In view of this, they tried to give more land to Chicueler and various rewards by virtue of his great work, but he rejected all payment and extra land, keeping his little plot as corresponded to everyone else. Given the lands, a problem arose, since the lands were not mapped out or delimited, so it is said that Maximilian of Habsburg, during his passage through Huatusco, sent the Austrian José Mefs to map out the territory. Once the work was completed, payment was sought, but there was none, since the Huatusqueños had not hired him and Maximilian had already left. During his tour of Huatusco, Maximilian of Habsburg, Archduke of Austria and Emperor of Mexico, stayed for a few days, and although he was always offered food, he never accepted it, since he traveled with his entourage that included his cooks. He toured the town dictating improvements such as the introduction of drinking water and left a donation for the restoration of the old parish church, which had previously been offered for the poor of Huatusco, was later offered. But a representative from Huatusco replied, "Fortunately, there were no poor people in Huatusco." On his way out, Maximilian visited the El Mirador estate, belonging to the German naturalist Carlos Sartorius, who decided to stay on these lands due to their agroecological potential. Sartorius was one of the first to initiate the Great Coffee Boom, utilizing his knowledge and techniques. Sartorius attempted to found a German colony here, but it was unsuccessful, and several of the groups he invited decided to return to their country, leaving only a few Germans in Watusko.